Two-time Big Ten Player of the Year at The Ohio State, now working for Westwood One and, of course, Fox Sports College Basketball. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
What's up, fellas? Good morning.
I'm curious. I know that you weren't doing the game, but what happened in the Purdue game against Tennessee with the shooter and giving the shooter space? Were you aware of that rule?
Well, yeah, because you got to give him a couple ways. You got to do it. You got to give him space to land. Okay, when he comes down off of his jump shot. So you'll see a call sometimes where a guy might be underneath him, a shooter, and he comes down and there's contact and a foul is called. So you got to give him space to land. You know, and a lot of it too, Dan, I mean, that call was so tough because from our angle, what we saw during the game on the, you know, the scoreboard and the Teletron was that the defender brushed by, but then Carson Edwards' leg kind of stuck out a little bit. It caused a little bit of contact. I thought it was a bad call to end the game that way.
Yeah. But Rick Barnes said it was a foul.
Well, I mean, according to the rule, if he made contact when he brushed by, that's such a judgment call a lot of times, too, from the official because there's a bang-bang play. And if they see any kind of contact, especially with a shooter, the way the rules are right now, if there's contact, especially – see, it's different when a guy is going straight up and down. But when you come across the body and you're lunging, kind of trying to defend it, and it's contact calls a little bit, and sometimes, depending on where that official is standing who calls it, if they can't see the little movement of the lower limb by Edwards, and he sees contact, automatically assumes that it's the defender who initiated it. So it's a tough way to lose a game. I mean, they still could have won it in overtime, but as you know, that momentum shifts so much because as the team that's ahead at the time, you feel you have the game in your hands.
You had the games in Anaheim, so you saw Gonzaga against Florida State, Texas Tech, and Michigan.
Yep.
Best player on the floor last night was who?
Probably Jared Culver for Texas Tech.
Yeah, he's
I
good.
mean, yeah, he's good, man. I mean, and you know what's weird though? He's not in today's world of trying to actually go for points and hunt shots. He doesn't do that. I give a lot of credit to Chris Beard, the coach there at Texas Tech, of how he's kind of matured this young man to understand how to be as efficient on the court, you know, without hunting shots. I mean, he's really good. I think he's in the top 6 in the Big 12 and steals and also assists. So he's not just doing it from a scoring perspective, but he can beat you in so many different ways. At 6'6", he has a nice pull-up jump shot. His three-point shot is probably not as depth as the rest of his game, but that's something that'll come along with time. But I'm going to tell you what, man, that Texas Tech team defensively, because I had them in Tulsa last week, and defensively, oh, man. I mean, they're tied together as one unit, and that's what makes them so tough to score against. So it's going to be interesting with Gonzaga, the top offensive team in the country, to see how they can kind of have success against that defense.
Talking to Jim Jackson, working for Westwood One during the basketball tournament. Of course, two-time Big Ten Player of the Year at Ohio State. I was wondering last night when I was, watching Purdue, and then I realized that they had 16 threes, and then the previous game, I think 15 threes, so 31. And that's the most since Loyola Marymount back in, I think, 1990. They were so far ahead of their time, Jim. When you look at what they were doing, I mean, that's what people do now. Golden State will trade a 2 for a 3. And here's Loyola Marymount. What would they be like now if they were doing it like they were back then?
They'll be incredible. And you think about it back then. You remember let me see, the Denver teams of the mid-'80s when they were putting up a lot of points.
Kiki Vanderway.
Kiki, and they were putting up a lot because of a lot about mismatches and smaller lineup. Don Nelson actually did it in the early 90s. Not that it was a 3-ball, but he went with a smaller lineup a lot with Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullen, and Tim Hardaway. He went small ball a little bit to try to force teams to match up. But it's amazing how the game, and I'm not one of those, old school guys that says, when we played back in the day, it was this, and the guys now couldn't play. Well, you know what? The game had to evolve in order to grow. And part of that evolution was not clogging up the lane, having freedom of movement, kind of more of a European style because it's such an international game. And now at the demographics, the 18 to 34-year-olds who really watch the game, you know, buy the merchandise, that's what they like to see. So that's the game we have today. And as much as it frustrates a lot of people at times that, oh, why don't you take the 2 instead of the 3? That's just how teams play. And the precedent was set back then, but it took a while for it to evolve to where we're at thanks to Golden State.
But don't you think this is the impact, the legacy of Steph Curry, that we'll look back on this with what he brought to the NBA at his size, giving everybody the thought that maybe I could play that way or I can shoot that way?
You know, that's a great question. I think the timing of everything of not only Steph, but how the 4 and the 5 position has changed. Okay, I think all that was going on at the same time because you were having a guy like Dirk who was not your prototypical 7-footer European player, okay? So that gave you pause in regards to where the game was going, utilizing the three-point line. And Steph, his evolution, now keep in mind, people forget that, you know, Golden State was pretty close to trading Steph or didn't know if they wanted to re-sign him,
yeah,
okay, because of his injuries. So it's not like Steph came into the league and his first 2 or 3 years, the league looked at Steph and said, you know what, we got to go find a Steph Curry. Okay, it evolved into what we see right now, the iteration of this Golden State team by getting the right people, the right philosophy, and the right coaches to realize this is what can make us more successful than other teams. So Steph had a lot to do with it. I think the evolution of, again, post players being more versatile on that 4 position. So all that stuff came together, but Steph has been the face of what we see today.
Paul Pierce created a little bit of headlines by saying that Zion Williamson's, I think, already a top 50 basketball player in the world.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think, Dan? You watch a lot.
I would say, yeah. I would put him in the top 50. Would you?
Put him in the top 50. No.
You don't think he's top 50?
I haven't seen him play yet that's a disrespect to the guys that are playing right now. Because I haven't seen him play on the professional level through 82 games to see what happens, okay?
Yep.
As a player. I'm just going to disrespect the guys that have been doing it for a while that are playing that I know that can play. Now, there's some names based on talent. You can say, well, he looks better. Okay, maybe he looks better. But we haven't seen him in an NBA game. And that doesn't mean that, you know, when he first comes in, he's not like LeBron in regards to what he does for the league and for whatever team he goes to, okay?
Yep.
But his impact is much more than just putting the ball in the basket. You're talking about a guy that whoever gets him, I don't care if it's New York, if it's Phoenix, if it's Cleveland, the bottom teams, Atlanta, I don't know. You immediately increase your marketing, your ticket sales. Now you're going to be on national TV like LeBron. Like Cleveland was never on national TV. You know, on your road games, there's going to be sold out. No other player in the draft gives you that. No other player, let alone the ability that he has, the physical ability. But I'm just talking about the stuff off the court. And a lot of guys don't come along like that. Now, what happens once he gets there, we don't know. You know, hopefully he's injury-free and he can grow and be this top 50 player because we'll love to see it.
Well,
but
he automatically makes you relevant, is what you're saying. And it's very few guys where there's a tune-in factor on a bad team where you'll continue to watch, but you will watch Zion Williamson. But if I said, you already know what Luka Doncic can do from his rookie year and Trae Young, what they could do with their rookie year. If I said you could have their future, this isn't anything to do with finances, it's just what you do on the basketball floor. And I gave you Zion's future, Luka, or Trae Young. Who are you taking?
I'm going to take Zion.
Okay.
You know,
even though we don't know what he's going to do, and we're looking at, you know, Luka and Trae, and they've had great rookie seasons.
Yeah, but I think those two still have limitations, okay, in regards to where they go. Because from a size perspective, Trae is still smaller. Luka still has some challenges with quickness. He still got to get his body together. But, I mean, that's a great – I love that analogy because you've given us something that we've seen. Because Luka, I saw him, you know, in preseason, and I said once he gets it, he's going to be good. But it's something about Zion right now that is special. I don't know what that is. You know, some guys just have it, and you just don't know, and they know how to figure things out. It's just something about him. Because think about it. People are tuning in to watch college basketball. They tuned in a lot earlier this year because of that man. And the question was his talents transferable from college from high school to college? Because R.J. Barrett was rated higher than Zion was.
Yeah.
And I think he's answered that question.
Yeah, but it's a shooter's league when you get into the NBA, and we know that he's sort of hesitant with that shot.
Okay, but Dan, who's in conversation for the MVP?
Well, they're better player. He's a better player than Zion, obviously.
Well, but here's the thing, though. The thing that Giannis makes Giannis great, of course, he's 6'11". That always helps.
With a handle.
With a handle. His ability to get to the basket despite you backing off of him, okay?
Yeah.
Zion has showed in college his ability to put it on the deck, attack, and then make a play, okay? So at that 3-4 position, probably at the 4 position there, he'll have a mismatch a little bit, and he'll be able to create off the dribble and do some things until his shot hopefully comes around.
What if I said you could have Ben Simmons' future or Zion's?
I'm taking Zion because to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. Ben Simmons to me is so reluctant as a offensive player, and he wants to. He's not a true point guard. And I had him a few times doing TNT games this year. When Ben determines that he wants to be Ben, he's tough. But a lot of times he doesn't do that, and I haven't seen that in him yet. To kind of just. He has so much talent. I don't know if he realizes it. I like somebody that is just has a motor that's just going to go get it. And that's not taking anything away from Ben, but I just don't see him in his personality that way.
Good stuff. I enjoyed chewing it up with you, Jim. Thanks for joining us, and good luck the rest of the tournament.
Hey, enjoy it. Thanks, Dan.
That's Jim Jackson, 2-time Big Ten Player of the Year. Calling games in Anaheim last night for Westwood One Radio.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.